Hey, hi. Okay, replay. Play this one. Play. Oh, trying to get the music. Hi, hi. Oh, no, go back. What do we want? Okay, we'll just do this. How's everyone? Okay, no, that's not what we want. We want this. Okay, hey guys. So, thank you for being here. I'm Sophia. I'm your astrologer and yoga instructor. Today, I wanted to talk about the coronavirus and its association with astrology, how astrologers are interpreting the coronavirus, and additionally, with the current transit that just happened a couple days ago, I want to talk about the results of Uranus and Venus being conjoined in Taurus. So I'm going to cover both of those topics today. And I have sources to read from. So that's why I'm going to be on my phone to check my sources and show you everything that I collected as evidence. So let's see. There we go. All right, so first things first. I'm sure a lot of people, astrologers, have brought up this subject already, and they're blaming it on different things. Some astrologers don't agree, but what I've noticed is that it has a lot to do with Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, possibly Capricorn, but we're going to see and read all the reasons and associations. So I guess what I'll first do is read to you my sources from Twitter, which is I'm going to read Current Cosmos, who I follow, and also S.J. Anderson. So I'll just start with what Current Cosmos was saying. When he said, when I was looking at data for the Spanish flu, the most severe pandemic in recent history, the peaks of the disease occurred when Jupiter made conjunctions with Pluto, which it did 3 times due to its retrograde. The same thing that's happening this year, right? Jupiter will conjoin Pluto 3 times this year as well. That's what I got. So interesting, comparing it to the Spanish flu. And then we had Nina Griffin, who is at Griff Astrology. Nina said, one of the unique challenges of 2020 is that we have a number of major aspects happening all through the year. Certainly, we have Jupiter conjunct Pluto thrice, but we also have Jupiter conjoining Saturn, and much more immediately, Mars conjoining Jupiter, and then Mars conjoining Saturn. My personal opinion, Nina said, is that there isn't one aspect that is always guaranteed to bring an epidemic or pandemic. After all, Jupiter and Pluto do conjoin every 12 or 13 years. However, if there are larger forces in play, such as the ongoing grand conjunction cycle in air signs, which last time brought the plague to Europe, even these more common and lesser aspects can start to trigger mass illness. If you're interested in this topic, I discuss pandemics in the December issue of my newsletter, and I'm writing an article for the Mountain Astrologer about it, where I will have more room to explore some of these longer-term trends. And sure, I have views on the subject. So that's Nina Griffin, and I highly recommend going to her December issue to see what she said back then. And then also, she's writing another article, like she said, in the Mountain Astrologer. So for more on Nina's opinion, go check those out. So then there was more discussion in the comments. Oh, one sec. Okay, so then there was someone that said, hey Aries, how are you? Someone, Chaos and Kairos on Twitter, had replied in that thread, I expected something like this with Neptune in Pisces. I think this is a respiratory flu that affects lungs. With the plague, it was in a fire sign, so high fever. And didn't their extremities turn black? Talking about the Spanish flu. And then Current Cosmos replied, the Spanish flu was H1N1 and also very respiratory from what I can tell. I think the Black Plague, bubonic plague, was Neptune in Aquarius. Jupiter and Pluto conjoining in Aries at that time. So high fever makes sense. Haven't looked much at the plague, but just pull it up. Wow. So more discussion. SJ Anderson on Twitter added his comments in a post. Jupiter and Saturn became co-present in Capricorn on 2nd of December 2019. The onset of novel coronavirus symptoms started in Wuhan shortly thereafter on the 8th of December. Jupiter and Saturn will be co-present for much of the next 20 months until Zeus enters Pisces on the 29th of December 2021. So Zeus being Jupiter, I think. And so there he's talking about how when Jupiter and Saturn went into Capricorn, when Jupiter entered Capricorn in early December, that's when all of this started. Now, let's stop and talk about the significations of Jupiter. I think a lot of people are associating long distance travel with Jupiter. And if it's a virus, you know, a lot of people are characterizing the virus as the thing that is experiencing long distance travel. A lot of the pathologists that I listened to in some videos about the coronavirus, they were saying that viruses don't respect boundaries. And to say that, you know, a certain race of people has the disease is stupid because viruses are not racist, nor do they respect boundaries. So having Jupiter be associated with this makes a lot of sense in those terms. And, you know, Neptune and Pluto can both be associated with viruses as well. So Pluto, in my opinion, like I've always characterized Pluto as, you know, a teeny tiny planet that just pretty much based on its size already gives you like a macro micro situation, because Pluto is a very a very strong planet, a very jam-packed planet, and it's so small. So already micro and macro situation happening. Pluto makes small things big and big things small. So a virus being, you know, a microscopic being is going from a small virus to a big situation where it's blowing up with Jupiter, which blows things up. So, so Aries says that the fear about coronavirus is that it will mutate and become much worse than it is now. And of course, you know, that is something to think about. I've heard some people say that it's going to disappear as quick as it came. I'll read you those tweets. And so yeah, Jupiter being long distance travel and expansion, going across borders. Pluto being, you know, a microscopic being, teeny tiny thing, right? With a lot of damage to it. It's very Plutonian. Another thing that I wanted to read was that S.J. Anderson also said, I think, this is from a tweet that he made today. No one knows what will happen with the virus, if it will dissipate soon or have multiple waves. This is in line with what you just said. But the economic and social impact will likely be felt for years to come, hopefully, in a good way. In 2026, all the outer planets will have changed signs and a new normal will likely have been established. So 2026 is only 5 years from now. And then SJ goes on to talk about, here are the details of the outer planet sign changes in 2026. And then he lists the dates for all of that. So if you're interested, go on Twitter and find SJ Anderson 144 on Twitter. Again, he brings up the first case of SARS was reported during eclipse season of 2002. Saturn co-present with the North Node and opposing Pluto in the South Node. The novel coronavirus of 2019 and 2020 was first reported during eclipse season with Saturn, Pluto, and South Node co-present. So what SJ is bringing up is the fact that this happened during eclipse season, which probably stirs things up a little more than you would expect. So again, he says the 1980-81 Great Conjunction did time the official start, according to the CDC, of the AIDS epidemic. Let's hope this new coronavirus is more like SARS, contained by the summer after the outbreak, than something far worse. Saturn plus Pluto plus lunar nodes equal the gun. Eclipse season is the trigger, and SARS coronavirus is the bullet. So I think that's really profound on SJ's part. And then we haven't even gotten to the best article yet. I went on astrologyking.com. I use astrologyking.com a lot. I really enjoy his work. And I just wanted to go check the dates, right? So Jupiter-Pluto conjunction happens every 12 to 13 years, like I said. And the exact conjunctions between Jupiter and Pluto, which we're associating with the coronavirus at this point, is April 4th, exact conjunction, June 30th, exact conjunction, and November 12th, exact conjunction. The reason why it's happening 3 times, again, like we said, is due to the retrograde. So Jupiter is direct right now. In a month, or I don't know when Jupiter retrogrades, in a few months or soon, it will go backwards in the sky from our view, and it will then conjoin Pluto again in June, on June 30th, and then it will go direct again and make a third conjunction on November 12th, which is election. So, oh my gosh. And then I'm going to read you now Sally Kirkman's article that I thought was the best and most thorough of the subject. So Sally Kirkman, astrologer, her website is sallikirkman.com. So she said, her article was written on March 4th, 2020, Coronavirus, the Astrology. So Saturn-Pluto conjunction is where she's starting. Back in January, we knew that the rare alignment of Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn would likely require a reset. Saturn and Pluto's challenging aspects also coincide with a time of endings and hardship. The Grim Reaper, Saturn, meets God of the Underworld, Pluto, in Capricorn, the star sign ruling the establishment. It was never going to be a happy marriage between these two, and it smacked of a global recession. We're feeling that now. What we weren't aware of at the start of 2020 was the major impact of the coronavirus globally, although it had already kicked in. Reading back through my Saturn-Pluto article from January, the following words now make more sense. The key themes of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction are endings, superpowers, death and loss, the passage of time, and dark side of life. Some of my tips on the Saturn-Pluto conjunction were: get real and deal with the facts, flex your survival instinct, ditch the fear, all worth holding on to at this peak moment in history. So She goes on to say, what I wanted to do in this article was consider the astrology for the onset of the virus to see if it can help us work out the timing of events and where we need to pay close attention. As always, I've tried to keep the astrology simple to help make sense of things. So then she talks about Jupiter and Capricorn. Looking at the coronavirus timeline, the first case was on December 1st, 2019. That's interesting. What's interesting about this date is that Jupiter was at 29 degrees Sagittarius on the verge of joining Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn the following day, December 2nd. So this is corroborating what SJ and Current Cosmos were saying, that Jupiter entering Capricorn was the onset. Jupiter is the global planet linked to foreign connections, travel, and study, also religion, hope, and faith, broadcasting, and the law. Its most significant planetary aspect in 2020 is a conjunction with Pluto, which happens 3 times on the following dates. Again, we mentioned them earlier, April, June, and November. These major planetary aspects act as a backdrop to the year. They can be specific date-wise, but more often they bring a theme to the year's events. We're already seeing how this is playing out as severe travel restrictions are being put in place. Jupiter rules travel and Pluto is the wipeout planet. Like I said, therefore, it's important to consider your travel plans in the year ahead, limit unnecessary travel, and ensure that you have good insurance as soon as you book. Oh, that's a good point. Getting that airline insurance, the flight insurance. The impact of the coronavirus is already hitting the airline business and limiting our freedom, another key feature of Jupiter. Now, before I keep reading, I don't know if any of you got this email from Southwest Airlines, but Southwest Airlines emailed me and said, hey guys, don't be afraid. We've changed our cleaning sanitation methods on our planes so that it is hospital grade, and we have HEPA filters on our planes so it filters out any debris and virus in the air, blah, blah, blah. Same thing that they use in hospitals. We hope that you come book with us soon. So it's like Southwest is doing damage control because they see their sales are going down, okay? And they're trying to encourage people like, hey, don't be afraid to fly. So anyway, moving on to the article. So another area to note are schools and places of study, which again are already being closed when there's this case of coronavirus confirmed. That's more Jupiter stuff. Schools of Jupiter. Did you hear about the, not cardinal, but one of the priests that got coronavirus because he shook hands with everybody at the church and now everybody has to get checked? I read that article earlier this week. So here too, you need to be ready for significant changes or cancellations. So whatever happens this month, see Mars section below. This could impact on travel and study plans throughout the year. So what that means is Jupiter is moving through all the planets in Capricorn right now, moving over. And especially if you have a day chart, this is going to impact you. Especially if you have personal planets in Capricorn. So Mars is just exacerbating the issue. Okay, so quarantine and lockdown. So when I was thinking about the Saturn-Pluto conjunction back in January, the image of a prison came to mind. Saturn rules walls, boundaries, confinement. Pluto rules caves, the underworld, and dark places. The lockdown symbolism is evident, which brings me to cruise ships, the monolithic vessels surging through our seas. I've never been a fan of cruise ships. Same. Yes, you travel to amazing places, but you can't get off them in the middle of the ocean, which is my personal ideal of hell. They're not great for the environment, and they have exploded in popularity in recent years. The quarantine on the cruise ships, which turned out to be a fertile breeding ground for the virus, is a shuddering reminder of Saturn-Pluto lockdown symbolism. If Saturn-Pluto is the equivalent of a reset button, we are being forced to consider the way we travel around the globe. Okay, Jupiter, more Jupiter symbolism. So South Node in Capricorn. There's another key planetary factor involved. The definite date for the coronavirus was December 31st, 2019, when China alerted the World Health Organization to the spread of the disease. So early December is when we started seeing cases. Okay, that was when Jupiter entered Capricorn. And then when the South Node entered Capricorn, wait a minute, no. Okay, so she's going to go on. So on this day, the sun was exactly conjunct the sun. I'm sorry, the south node. So the sun was conjoining the south node, which had already been in Capricorn, and these were both at 8 degrees. So the sun and the south node, 8 degrees. Let's all remember 8 degrees. She put it in bold, and I think I know why. Okay, sits and gets hot chocolate. Yay! Yay! Okay, good. So the South Node is a point in astrology that's often associated with bad fortune. We can think of the South Node also as like flushing the toilet. It's a sinkhole, and it just sucks everything up and makes you feel like that was not a waste, but like I was drained of everything. That's the South Node. So the South Node is a point in astrology that's often associated with bad fortune. Traditionally, it's a point linked to release and letting go. Again, flushing down the toilet, especially when you slip into bad habits, your comfort zone. Okay. So South Node, comfort zone, where we've been in our past, right? Normally, a virus would be represented by Neptune in astrology. Okay, this is what I was talking about before, Neptune. Mysterious, intangible planetary influence, which often shows in personal illness. So Neptune. And as we know right now, Neptune is in its home sign of Pisces in modern astrology. So it's very strong and comfortable in the sign. Yes, lots of things being released. Before I move on, I mentioned 8 degrees of Capricorn for a reason. And with this comment about a lot of things being released. When you look back at the astrology of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle leaving the royal family, that was literally on the day that Jupiter and the South Node were conjoined at 8 degrees of Capricorn. That was also the day Mercury and the Sun were in a cazimi, right next to it. Okay, so 8 degrees of Capricorn seems to have been like a trigger point for a lot of release, right? Yeah, look back. I was shocked that day. Jupiter South Node day with Mercury cazimi happening over the Sun is when, yeah, that happened. So 8 degrees of Capricorn, again, Sun being conjoined to the South Node. This is now when the first case of coronavirus was alerted to, or when China alerted the World Health Organization about the disease. So China gets in touch with World Health Organization on the day that the Sun and South Node are conjoined at 8 degrees. Okay. And so, yet coronavirus seems to be taking hold as the planets move through Capricorn, affecting the structure of our lives. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The structural foundation. And so as we know, we see all these shutdowns happening. We see the fact that churches are shutting down, schools, all these important structural things in our society are being affected because of this Capricorn energy, which represents the establishment and structures. So Mars in Capricorn, right? Next section. So another important point suggests that March 2020 is pivotal, period. It's the fact that Mars, the planet representing speed and ferocity, is currently in Capricorn. It moved here February 16th and remains until March 30th, okay? We're already seeing Mars impact as the virus accelerates. For example, the first international sports match, which was postponed, was the Ireland-Italy rugby game, and the announcement came on February 26, 2020. On this date, the South Node in Capricorn was conjunct Mars. That's so crazy. The planet which rules sport and physical activities, both at 6 degrees of Capricorn. Yeah, I like that view. That's the same view that I have. the universe is giving us a push and cutting off all toxic things. I agree. Our generation has been looking around as we've been growing up, realizing this shit is whack as fuck. This shit's not what? Like we're confused as to how the world is working. We're saying, but this isn't right. But there's still a structure in place to allow this to continue. But it's wrong. Like, hello. Well, how did this happen? How did we set things up so poorly? Who's been in charge this whole time? And so I think, thank God, I've been waiting for this day, and I've been curious as to how, if ever, this was ever going to resolve itself. So I'm glad you see what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm grateful. That's why I'm saying, like, good. I'm glad that things are changing from here on out, because the way things have been is pathetic and sad and embarrassing. So moving on, right? So let's see. So Mars still has a way to go in Capricorn, as Mars is conjunct Jupiter on March 20th and Pluto on March 23rd. Okay, so again, Mars is going to be conjoined to Jupiter March 20th and Pluto March 23rd. Ooh. These dates are likely to prove pivotal for the spread of the virus, whether this is when it peaks or it brings connections with planets in Capricorn. So by May 5th, the South Node will have moved into Sagittarius Gemini axis, which is a whole new focus for the entire world. Literally, when the nodes shift, so does the world. Okay. 0 degrees Aquarius. Mars joins Saturn in Aquarius on March 30th, and they meet at 0 degrees of Aquarius March 31st. When I drew up the chart for December 1st, 2019, the first coronavirus case, I chose a sunrise chart, and the moon was at 0 degrees Aquarius. So the moon, she's looking at how the moon was at 0 degrees Aquarius, which she's noticing is a trigger point. And if we pay attention, that 0 degrees trigger point is an echo or reflection of, the start of it. So it could mean when Mars joins Saturn at 0 degrees of Aquarius, this could mean maybe it's the end of it. Maybe we're done. I think so. I hope so. So the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which heralds a new age, also takes place at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So lots of 0 degrees Aquarius happening on December 21st, 2020. So that's the end of this year. These dates and planetary alignments could bring something new to the situation. Here's hoping it's a breakthrough, turning points towards a solution. It's worth noting these dates to see what happens next. And it's scary to think about the fact that this could persist throughout the entire rest of 2020. I'm hoping it's going to vanish, but knowing that 0 degrees of Aquarius is a trigger point based on the moon when the virus started, and it could indicate that this whole thing will continue until, yes, Sylvia Brown. Yes, I was actually going to talk about that. Okay, I didn't even read your comment yet, but I saw you said Sylvia Brown. Yes. So one of the astrologers that I follow tweeted that and tweeted what she said, and I'm going to read it to you. We will definitely talk about that. Let's see. There's only one last section, like the summary. So the last part of this article, and then we'll move on to what Sylvia Brown said, which is amazing. So the eyes of the universe, the symbolism of the Sun South Node conjunction in Capricorn, which coincided with the announcement of the coronavirus, is intriguing, right? In traditional astrology, the moon and sun represent the eyes. The sun is the right eye, the moon the left. That's also true in yoga. The sun has a corona, a crown, which is invisible to the human eye except during an eclipse. Then it's brought to light. The eyes of the world, the sun and moon, look down upon us as we stand and fall, make mistakes, abuse the earth we live on, and hopefully try to make amends. As always with astrology, there's a sense that the steps we take in life as human beings are closely connected to the cosmic order, the movements of the stars and planets. We are seeing that in what's happening now. And we're being forced to consider how we lead our lives on our beautiful planet. Last thing I'll say before we talk about Sylvia Browne, I am very sad about the negative impact that the coronavirus has brought, but I'm also grateful because in a dark way, this is a reset, like we said, and it shakes everything up. It's the reason that we need to think twice. Like, we're worried about the earth dying. Honey, she's taken care of. She's going to come out with coronavirus to make us all go away. You know what I'm saying? Like, she knows what to do. Like, Mother Earth, I think, is responsible for spreading viruses in a way because we are cancer. And so she needs to do some type of mitigation, create a virus to kill us. And I'm not trying to be fatalistic. I'm just saying we aren't treating her right. And if we're not treating Mother Earth right, why should we expect to be respected back? Okay? Yeah. Purging. So, if it takes a purge, then the ones that need to go will go. I'm sorry. And that sounds horrible, but it's just true. Now, that was the end of that article. Let's talk about Sylvia Browne, and I'm going to go to my Twitter and find it. I should have screenshot this. Let me try to remember who posted about it. Who was it? So Sylvia Browne made a prediction, and she said for 2020, Levi, here we go. I retweeted it. So at Nimble Enigmas on Twitter, at Nimble Enigmas. This is Levi, very, very smart astrologer that I respect. So he posted, he said, "This is too optimistic for my pessimism, but I wouldn't complain if she was right about this." And the first thing that he said, the psychic Sylvia Browne made a pretty good guess back in 2008. LOL, so far anyway. So then it says, in around 2020, a severe pneumonia-like illness will spread throughout the globe, attacking the lungs and the bronchial tubes and resisting all known treatments. Almost more baffling than the illness itself will be the fact that it will suddenly vanish as quickly as it arrived, attack again 10 years later, and then disappear completely. Okay. And then by 2020, this is a continuation of Sylvia Browne. By 2020, we'll see the end of IRAs, mutual funds, pension and retirement plans. And yes, it's true, the stock market. And hard as it may be to believe at this moment, by the mid-2020s, the global image of the United States will be significantly rehabilitated. Thank God. What's fascinating is that we'll accomplish this by shifting the vast majority of our humanitarian focus back to our own problems and their solutions. Sounds like what we should have been doing this whole time. Minding our own goddamn business, okay? Will evolve into a nation that inspires rather than invades and be admired all the more for it. So I really hope that's true. And that's why Levi said it's important to, not to fall too far into this optimistic, prediction. She's been right so far. So I'm hoping that she's going to continue to be right. Um, but, and it's also making people be like, go Bernie, you know what I mean? Which is great. And I have no say in that, because with politics, there's what should happen and then what the structures allow. And so no matter how much we're like, but this is right and this is true and this is how it should be, it's all really whether or not the establishment and structures, self-interest align with that, which right now they don't. So how is this going to happen? I don't know. Is the coronavirus the reason for us to start working together? I hope so. It must suck being 20 years old, because this is like what you're growing up with, and this is like a very formative time in your life. And moving forward, this is going to be a more impactful memory for you than it is for me, because it's during your formative years. And for someone who's in my late 20s, this is like, it's not my whole world, like I've experienced other stuff, which was shit, but also, I don't think you went through 9/11, or at least we're alive. I don't know if you were alive. Were you alive? I don't think you were alive, boo. Damn. 2001, and now it's 2020. Okay, you were like 1 year old. But it's like, it just sucks but it's also good, because having this as like a 20-year-old, having this entire mess be your reality, it really fuels this generation, that generation, to be like, yo, what the, even more than my generation, which is like already, what the hell, right? And you guys are going to be even more like, yo, not acceptable. Not acceptable. Okay? Society has changed so much, and the generation, your generation, 20-year-olds and stuff, like, you guys know a lot more than we did. Okay? And so we can only, like my generation, we had to learn over time, like, can't call people faggots, can't call people, can't call someone gay, can't say, oh, that's gay. Like, that was our reality. That horrible, discriminative behavior, just simply against like gay people. Like, I remember when my teacher, who is gay, was crying in my high school class because they did not approve gay marriage in 2008. Later they did, but I remember him crying to us because of that, because he couldn't marry his husband. And now this shit is normal, which is wonderful. So what I'm saying is, like, thank God the progression through the generations has continued. And the more we grow up, the more we can all grow together and make sure these structures make sense and are in everybody's best interest, right? And we will learn how to treat each other better over time. People have grown up in a whole life. Like, my parents are 71. My parents grew up in the 60s fighting racism and just barely, women, flexing their powers to vote and stuff. So, and civil rights was only in the 50s. You know what I mean? We're learning, we're getting better. So let's keep progressing, and let's use this coronavirus to allow a reset that's much needed and keep the panic down. So I hope that section was informative. What I do want to talk about still is Uranus and Venus, which conjoined earlier this week. Very brief, but I'll talk about it. So Venus moved over Uranus in Taurus. Uranus has been in Taurus for a year-ish, maybe more, and it's very slow moving of a planet, so it goes very slowly. It retrograded last year, and then now it's moving forward again. So it's kind of been in the same degrees, early Taurus for a long time. Venus has come through and is now exalted in its home rulership of Taurus, and she conjoined Uranus on Sunday. Now, Sunday, stock market was closed. Monday, stock market opened. And, it's 11:11 right now. What happened? We saw a humongous crash in the stock market. Now, let's talk about this. Venus represents what? Money. Also, relationships. Also, value. Okay? Value. Stock market. Value. Money. Okay, Uranus, the planet of chaos, excitement, turbulence. I said chaos already. Surprises, evolution. Okay, so we had a crash, which is a volatile, chaotic response to the money in the stock market. Having this as a global transit, right? Venus and Uranus. This is not just a birth chart situation. This is a transit, like a regular transit. This is affecting the United States and stock markets. And the reason why is oil. When you look this up, you'll see that everybody's talking about the fact that oil is the reason that this dropped. Now, when we think about Venus, you don't always think about oil. But in yoga, the second chakra, the sacral chakra, in Sanskrit, it means sweetness. And it gives an illusion, like not an illusion, but it paints a picture of sort of like molasses. So like Venus being like very sweet, very languid, very like, molasses and like oil. Something that the earth produces, Taurus, it's in the sign of Taurus, something that the earth produces that has a lot of value placed on it, oil. So the value of what's coming out of the earth, the money maker of the earth, being the money, being the oil has caused, so Venus we can see in the oil, and Venus we can see in the money crash, and Uranus being the chaos and disorder. Now, this is not just a regular stock market crash. This is a huge one. I have an article, but it's so long, and I'm not going to read it all. But pretty much any article you find about this is going to talk about, the statistics of, this goes in line with, 2008 when we had the same type of drop. And that was how long ago? 12 years. And how long does the Jupiter and Pluto conjunction take? 12 years. Okay. Jupiter and Pluto not only conjoin every 12 and 13 years, but Jupiter moves through all of the signs in 12 years. So, right, So yes, I was in high school in 2008. I remember when that happened. I know that my father lost his longtime job. He got laid off. And from that point on, my life changed drastically. My parents from that point on could never, ever make enough money. We had to sell our house. After we still kept the house and struggled for 5 years, but we had to sell it. and got no money from it. It was a whole big housing issue at the time. And so my parents were right in the middle of that. So, just remember the cycles. 2008 stock market crash. 12 years ago, Jupiter was in Capricorn. 12 years ago, Jupiter conjoined Pluto. Okay, so these 12-year cycles, pay attention. The last thing I want to talk about for Uranus and Venus, which not a lot of people would mention, because I feel like I I have a good eye for these things. Rihanna just, was it on Monday? I think Sunday or Monday, or like the weekend or whatever, when this was happening, this conjunction, Rihanna debuted her Fenty Beauty TikTok house. Okay, so there's an LA house that she built for TikTokers to come and promo Fenty Beauty products. It fulfills her vision of providing the next wave of content creators with a space and setup that will assist them in getting their ideas off the ground. So we are standing in the official first Fenty Beauty TikTok home. Rihanna said, "I just wanted to create a platform for the next wave of content creators. I think our generation is the sickest, the illest, the most creative. I can't do it alone. So to join in with the people who are influencing the world and my community and my generation, this is a hub." And the reason I'm bringing this up, obviously, Fenty Beauty can be symbolized by Venus. And I think that's really appropriate because she's not a cosmetics company. She is the cosmetics company, okay? And her lingerie line as well. She is Venus. She has Venus in the 12th house, by the way, almost rising. That's why she's so beautiful. But that's also why she doesn't see her own beauty. Anyway, when you talk about Uranus, we talk about how it can be signified with the internet. Internet can be a signification of Uranus, but also just simply evolution. We associate technology, progressive technology, with Uranus. So that's the internet, but just evolution in general. So the beauty community, yeah, Victoria's Secret can suck it. I'm glad she took them out of business, because I was very mad at Ed Radzik, Ed, who was the CEO, who was very discriminatory. And she's embracing trans, big-bodied, just like, vitiligo models who queer, and she's killing the game. Everybody needs to follow that example. But so anyway, I just thought that was really cool how this internet TikTok situation that's taking over the world in an evolutionary way, is now involved in the beauty industry, TikTok beauty industry coming together, Venus and Uranus coming together. So that was amazing. And that debut was yesterday. So, and Venus-Uranus conjunction happened on like Sunday, Monday. So yeah. Taurus and Venus, which means something earlier, I guess. So Taurus and Venus, you have Venus and Taurus. You have Venus and Taurus. So that means that your Venus return is happening this month. Venus in Virgo, 7th house. Interesting. So, that was my rundown and astrological explanation of the coronavirus and the Uranus-Venus conjunction that happened in Taurus. So I'm going to continue to talk about, current events and how the astrology is reflecting all of it. And yeah, I think maybe I'm going to either go live doing yoga, or I'm not sure, but you might see me later today. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do. I'm going to be posting a lot on this channel. Mr. Odie is here. We have to go for a walk outside. Oh, you want to go for a walk outside? Yeah, let's go outside. So, and thank you guys for clicking the thumbs up on this video. If you haven't clicked thumbs up, please do. And I will see you guys soon. Mwah. Bye, guys.